Welcome to your review of non-restrictive elements and comparative and superlative adjectives. The first thing that we're going to go over today are non-restrictive elements. So we have a quick video for you to watch to give you an idea of what non-restrictive elements are. So there's nothing for you to fill in on your note sheet right now, just to watch the video.
Using Powtoon.
So, as the video showed, non-restrictive elements are also known as non-essential elements. They add information that isn't necessary to the meaning of the sentence, which means that they can be left out without changing the meaning of the sentence, and they're normally used to add details. So here's an example sentence. A rainbow, shimmering in the sky, suddenly appeared after the rain stopped. Shimmering in the sky, the bolded phrase right there, is our non-restrictive element because it can be taken out of the sentence and the sentence still makes sense. So we could still say, a rainbow suddenly appeared after the rain stopped. You see in the bottom sentence, our non-restrictive element is taken out and the sentence still makes sense, but it adds details into our sentence to make it more descriptive. So our punctuation rules. Our non-restrictive clauses are set off by a comma. So this is where you're going to have to go back to your note sheet to fill in the rules. If the non-essential element begins the sentence, a comma is going to follow it, meaning it's going to come at the end of the phrase. If the non-essential element is in the middle, a comma will introduce it and follow it. And if the non-essential element is at the end, a comma is going to introduce it. So go ahead and copy this down onto your note sheet. You can pause the video if you want, and we're going to look at more examples on the next slide. So here's our first example, and this is on your note sheet as well. The old farmhouse built in 1903 celebrated its 100 years of existence. When I look at my sentence, I realize that the sentence is about the farmhouse, and that built in 1903 is adding detail and telling us more about the farmhouse. So in this sentence, that bolded phrase, built in 1903, is my non-essential element. So according to my punctuation rule, when it comes in the middle, a comma introduces the phrase and follows it. So in this sentence, I'm going to put a comma before the phrase, after the word farmhouse, and after the phrase, after 1903. So this should already be done on your worksheet for you. Looking at example number 2. Lauren, who is the captain of the soccer team, is also president of the glee club. Again, my sentence is about Lauren, and who is the captain of the soccer team is giving me more information about Lauren. So again, my non-restrictive element is in the middle of the sentence, so I need a comma before and after. So go ahead on your note sheet and put a comma after Lauren, before your non-restrictive element, and after team. Here are your example sentences. These are number 3 through 6 on the front of your note sheet. So what you need to do now is go through, read each sentence, determine which part of the sentence is that non-essential element, meaning which part could we take out and the sentence still makes sense, and punctuate it correctly. You may want to stop the video here, work on your worksheet, and then press play, and we'll go on to the next slide and check your answers. So checking your answers, sentence number 3, we have the sentence, in the 1800s, many farmers joined the National Grange Association, which helped them to gain political strength on a national level. In this case, the bolded part, which helped them gain political strength on a national level, is our non-restrictive element. We could take that out of the sentence and our sentence would still make sense. It's just adding more detail about the National Grange Association. So according to our rule, if it's at the end, a comma is going to introduce it, so we need the comma after association. Number 4, does your principal, Mr. Rutten, treat students fairly? Mr. Rutten is giving us the detail about the principal. The non-essential element is in the middle of the sentence, so we need a comma after principal and after Rutten. Same thing with number 5. Mr. Meal, the mayor of Harleysville, is well known for his political aspirations. The mayor of Harleysville is our non-restrictive element. It is describing Mr. Meal, again in the middle of the sentence, so we need the comma after Meal and after Harleysville. And example number 6, that uniform is Mom's favorite color, sky blue. In this case, our non-restrictive element is at the end of the sentence, sky blue. It is telling us about Mom's favorite color. So according to our rules, the commas introduce that element, so the comma needs to go after color. You can go ahead and flip your note sheet to the back page, and there's more practice. Here you will see 6 more sentences, and you're going to do the same thing that we did with numbers 1 through 6. You're going to read the sentence, determine which part is the non-restrictive or non-essential element, and then punctuate it correctly. Again, you may want to pause the video, work out your sentences, and then click play to check your answers. Here you go. Here are your answers. It's the same formula that we followed working out numbers 1 through 6. So again, you can check your answers. And then once you're done with this part, we are going to move on to comparative and superlative adjectives. Comparative and superlative adjectives. You've probably learned about these all before. You're probably going to see them and be like, oh, I already know this. And you probably do. We just want to refresh your memory about what they are and how we use them grammatically. All right, so at this point, you should be on the second note page. It should say comparative and superlative adjectives at the top. We are going to work through the Prezi, and you are going to fill in the bolded words. Okay, so up at the top, the first thing that we're going to talk about are comparative adjectives. And these are adjectives that compare two nouns. So on your note sheet, you need to fill in the blank line with either the number 2 or the word to. And we show these adjectives by using the ending ER at the end of the adjective, or by using the word more before the adjective. So on your note sheet, you need to be filling in the words end and before. Here's your example. The man is tall. Tall is describing man, or we can say the tree is taller. So again, we're comparing the man and the tree, and we're saying that the tree is taller. So we use that ER on the end of our adjective. So here are the rules. We're going to go by syllables. And just to remind you, syllables are the parts of the word. So if I was going to use the name Colin, there are 2 syllables in Colin. And most of you probably sounded this out by going Colin. Okay? Or if I'm just going to say the name Matt, Matt. That's 1 syllable. So just to refresh your memory on that. So when the comparative adjectives only have 1 syllable, we're going to put the ER at the end of the word. So here's our example. The cat was fatter than his brother. So we can say the cat was fat, and if we're going to compare it, we're going to say the cat was fatter. So make sure that you have filled in on your note sheet the word 1 or the number 1 for your rule about 1 syllable adding ER to the end. When words have 3 or more syllables, you're going to put more before your adjective. So for this example, we're going to look at the word excited. If you clap out the syllables, excited, that's 3 syllables. So we're going to put more before it. The cat was also more excited than his brother. Make sure you filled in 3 on the line. And finally, for comparative rules, when an adjective has 2 syllables, you can use either the ER or the word more. Okay, both are grammatically correct, sometimes when you're saying things, it doesn't sound quite as right. So for example, lazier or more lazy. It's up to you for how you want to say it. So here's your example. The cat is lazier than his brother, or the cat is more lazy than his brother. Both are grammatically correct. So make sure you have the word to filled in on your note sheet for that. All right, superlatives. So we're at the bottom of the front note sheet. So these are adjectives that compare two or more nouns and represent the absolute highest degree of the adjective. So we normally use the ending est and the word most. So I like to think of this, if any of you have gone to camp or in your classes, they do superlatives like best smile or most likely to, I don't know, trip up the stairs. Okay, it's that person, it's that highest degree, the most or the greatest, along those lines. So here's our example. The man is strong. This man is stronger. This man is the strongest. So in this case, they're comparing the three men. Okay, we use stronger when we're just comparing the two men. There's just two, so we use ER. When we're comparing more than two, meaning three or more, we need to use the ending EST, or we need to put most in front of the adjective, depending on the rule. So getting to the rule, you can go ahead and flip to the back page of your note sheet. So these rules are pretty much the same as comparative, just different endings. So if the adjective has one syllable, you're going to add the EST to the end. So sorry about that. So for example, greatest, we would just put EST on the end. If the adjective has three or more syllables, you're going to put most in front of it. So for example, studious, you would say, Johnny is the most studious student I have, because studious has three syllables. And the last rule, if the adjective has two syllables, it can gain the EST, or we just put the most in front of it. So we can use the adjective clumsy. We could say, Mr. is the clumsiest teacher I've had, or Mr. is the most clumsy teacher I've had. Either way, they're both grammatically correct. Okay, so here's some more examples. This cat is the youngest. Young has one syllable, so we add the EST. This cat is the friendliest, or this cat is the most friendly. Friendly has two syllables, so you can either add EST or put most in front of it. And then for a word that has three syllables, athletic, we need to put the most in front of it. All right, of course, there's always going to be irregularities and exceptions because it's English, and that's what makes it fun. So some adjectives are irregular. So one example of this is good. We don't say gooder and goodest, we say better and best. The same goes for bad. We don't say badder and baddest, we say worse and worst. So just be aware of these irregular adjectives. Good, better, best, and bad, worse, worst. All right, now it's your turn. So you need to make a list of 5 adjectives. This is at the bottom of your note sheet. So you're listing 5 adjectives and one needs to be irregular. So go ahead and do that first. Then what you want to do is write the comparative form of that. So either adding an ER or more in front of it, or the superlative form, where you're going to add EST or put most in front of it. So that's it for our review of non-restrictive elements and comparative and superlative. Hopefully you feel ready for your SOL review. Good luck.